to go now to Tampa, Florida, where Sara Murray is standing by. Sara's at the Delegate Center, but she has spent the last few weeks with the Romney campaign, has seen how it's played out. And Sara, I wonder if you can give us any insight into how he is prepared for this speech, very important speech he has to make in a few minutes.
This speech, the preparations have been in the works for weeks now. And, you know, Romney takes really diligent notes when he's on the campaign trail. And so he's been looking back over those notes. I think, you know, looking at different speeches he's delivered, but also different speeches that other candidates have given at their inaugurations or their conventions, including Barack Obama's 2008 convention speech. And he's been kind of pulling all that together, working with one of his top strategists, Stuart Stevens, to craft this address tonight that will not only kind of defend his career as a businessman, but also try to give people a little bit of a hint of what Mitt Romney, the guy, is like.
But you must wonder, Sara, having listened to dozens and dozens of Mitt Romney's speeches now, what can he possibly do tonight that he hasn't done before?
You know, I think that's going to be really the challenge for him, is to move beyond your normal stump speech. And there are elements of his normal stump speech in this. And, you know, give people something that's going to excite them, give them a little bit better view than they've seen, and also kind of try to acknowledge some of the challenges they face. So, for example, you know, they're running really behind with female voters, and there are some nods to that in Governor Romney's speech. So he's going to talk about his mother. He's going to talk about women's role in the workforce and in the economy. And, you know, it'll just, I think a lot of this is also just going to depend on the delivery. Can he prove that he can connect, and can he really hit the high note?
The convention generally has been good for mothers. Everybody has talked about their mothers. We've heard a lot about mothers, which is a great thing. I'm all for mothers. But let me ask you, I hear different things from Republican advisors on what he needs to do tonight. Some say he really has to create a personal connection. He has to open up. Others say you got to let Mitt Romney be Mitt Romney, and that's why they're doing all this other stuff on the convention floor, to let other speakers give that window into his character.
The campaign has not been secretive about the fact that Governor Romney does not really like talking about himself. And so the campaign has really embraced that they're going to have to find other ways to do that. And that means having people like Ann Romney come out and talk. That means, like we saw tonight, having members of the Mormon Church come out, and they basically like laid bare the worst moments of their lives and how Mitt Romney helped them work through it. I mean, the real challenge for the campaign is going to be, can you take the stories in those moments and move them beyond these convention walls and have them kind of hit back at some of these ideas that Romney can't connect, that he's not a good guy, that he doesn't care about people. And I think that's the real challenge.
Yeah. What can you tell us about his mood? Have you gotten any insight into how he's feeling about how the convention's gone so far and what he's expecting tonight?
You know, I haven't been around him today, but he did seem to be in a pretty good mood yesterday. We did this brief little jaunt to Indiana so he could deliver a speech to veterans. And he seemed pretty upbeat. I think he was really uplifted by the fact that his wife's speech went so well, and she got pretty good reviews on that. That said, you know, I think this is definitely a nerve-wracking moment. He's addressing a big crowd. We've seen that they've kind of revamped the stage for him. It brings the podium a little bit closer to the audience, but, you know, maybe that will make him feel more comfortable to feel like he's kind of in the midst of the group instead of standing above this large audience.
Yeah. Sara, what happens from here? He's in Florida tomorrow morning. I know he's heading to Virginia after that, but what do you think the next couple of weeks are going to look like for Mitt Romney?
Well, you know, I think he's going to be on the stump with Paul Ryan a little bit on Friday, and I think that that's a really good way for the campaign to capitalize on the momentum, because Romney just does a better job when he's with Paul Ryan. He feels more relaxed. They have a good rapport. You know, if to the extent that he can get in a little bit of a looser frame of mind tonight, you know, he can certainly kick that with him on the campaign trail. But from there, I think that this is really the beginning of this final sprint. They're going to get all their general election money. They're going to carpet the airwaves, and you know, we're really starting the time where Ron can't be doing 3 fundraisers a day. He has to be doing campaign event after campaign event after campaign event.
Are you going to be with him for the next 60 days?
I will. I will be with him for a lot of that, yes. So my frequent flyer miles will be going up.
Yeah. Well, good luck to you. I suspect you'll see a lot of Ohio, a lot of Virginia, a lot of Florida, maybe a little bit of Colorado, some Wisconsin. But you can guess where you're going to be going, I suppose, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the remaining questions are, you know, will we see any of Wisconsin, any Pennsylvania, any Michigan? To what extent do they really feel like they are in striking distance in those states and, send the candidates out there and, also send on the airwaves?
Yeah. Now, Sarah, I know the big story tonight is Mitt Romney, but what are you hearing about Clint Eastwood?
It does sound like Clint Eastwood will be the mystery guest. What he could possibly say, I don't know. He's obviously thrown his support behind Mr. Romney before this, but your guess is as good as mine.